All right, let's talk about the percentages of officer safety because this is a scientifically studied subject. So they've determined which positionings and um, positions and all of that I just said two of the same words that just different scenarios and how you react, how a cop reacts to the situation determines their percentage of safety. Okay, for example, I recently had a cop stop at my car and insist, suggest that I roll down my window because it's maybe say 20% safer to talk to somebody through an open car window as opposed to an open car door. Okay, so and then the positioning of where the cop stands determines that safety as well. If they stand right behind, okay, whether the window's open or the door's open, they're they're 75% more safe. But if they move over to the side away from the car a little bit, then the percentages decline 70, 60, 50. If they're standing in front of the driver and talking, they're 20% safe. Okay, there's different positionings for that. When he approaches the car, if he pushes on the trunk or the hatchback to make sure it's locked so nobody could jump out at him, he increases his safety by 15%. All right, as the cop or he or she's talking to the subject, if the subject is not in handcuffs, the cop is maybe a good 45-50% less safe than they would be if the person was in handcuffs. So at night, if the cops shines his lights in the suspect's eyes, he's maybe 15% more safe because blinding the subject is definitely an advantage. It's a non-lethal weapon that they can use at night. So cops at night have different techniques to use. Perhaps um, a cop can increase their safety by positioning themselves for the daylight too, by forcing the suspect to have to look at the sun, for example. That would increase a cop's safety percentages um, based on the position of the sun. Um, let's see. In a car, chasing a suspect. I was thinking about that. Chasing a person in a car as opposed to chasing a person on foot, which is safer? I'm not exactly sure. Which would a cop prefer? It might be safer for the cop to be in the car chasing. I always keeping the car nearby, trying not to. If they can avoid having to get out and run after a suspect, they can probably keep their levels of safety up a good 10% or so, as opposed to getting far away from the car chasing the suspect. The gun pulling out the gun increases their safety. I'd say a good 60, 70, maybe 80%. Just by being able to stop the threats immediately. That's always been historically the best method to safety, is to just kill the threat, kill the suspect, the animal, whatever it is, as opposed to using less lethal means like the taser or the pepper spray. Then they're less safe, maybe by a good 40% or so. So yes, there's a non-lethal enforcement, but the cop's safety is chances are reduced if they use the non-lethal means. So they got to consider that. What's the situation? What, do don't wouldn't you know wouldn't it be smarter to want to always lean towards what's safer for the cop when they are out there doing whatever. They got to consider their odds and options. When they approach a house, they're very unsafe if they're standing right in front of the door. They're I don't know, 45% less safe if they're standing in front of the door. But if they stand off to the side a little bit, if they can, if it's a hallway, they can't. Then they increase their safety by 30%, because sometimes suspects like to shoot through the doors, and it's a thinner material to shoot through. What else is there that you could determine for safety in positionings? Because, I mean, asking for ID, there's no safety involved with that. Well, in a way, maybe if the cop has to pull out their notepad to write down your information, their hands are tied up, so they're less safe. They're maybe 10% less safe if they have to pull out a pen and a paper and write down information. They're 10% less safe than actually having your plastic ID, which they could call in. They do lose some safety when they have to tie up any of their hands for anything, like calling on the radio. That's suddenly, they're talking to you, and then they have to go on the radio. Suddenly they become 5% less safe when they're talking on the radio, because sometimes they look away. That makes them 5% less safe. So there's actions and stuff. There's just little things like the difference between having enough sleep or having coffee. Those increase your alertness and your safety. Drinking coffee might increase your safety by 5% because you're more alert. Getting enough sleep increase your safety by 5%. If you're tired, if it's been long, you're working double shifts and all that, and it's towards the end of the shift, your safety levels rise and fall with your alertness in a lot of ways. Okay, so physically, that's and light. I mean, just night and day. Are you safer at night, or are you safer during the daytime? You can't see as well at night. But then again, the suspects can't really see you as well. There's a lot of positionings and situations to consider on the levels of safety. Could I stand here? Like crossfire, you're less safe if your subject is right in between the two cops as they're drawing their guns on the person. You gotta angle yourselves so you're not shooting directly at each other. That increases your safety, especially from friendly fire. Hiding behind barriers, there's different safety levels. The thicker the barrier, the more your safety percentages go up, of course. Like if you use your car as a barrier, the engine block increases your safety by 40%, as opposed to trying to use the doors as a barrier, and that's gonna not have as as high as a safety measure. Moving around when a cop is engaged in a shooting match increases their safety instead of standing stationary. Because if a cop stays stationary in one spot and they haven't killed the suspect yet, then the suspect can zero in over time where the cop is better and have more accurate shooting in one spot, as opposed to the cop moving around. But these are military operations where they consider their safety levels. So I mean, cops are almost like military. They're, historically it's practically hunters to military. It's that anything where it's involves in deadly engagements and encounters. So safety levels are something to consider, and it's just interesting. It's just used. This safety level thing is used so much. Officer safety. We got to be so concerned about the officer safety. Well, there's some things that just, they say it, and it doesn't really have much meaning. Or it's just such a small percentage for officer safety. And I counter, what about, my safety? You look out for your safety, I'll look out for my safety, and then we'll negotiate in between there.